cowboys, and Indians, Argentine gauchos, Irish politicians, Caribbean cane cutters, German folk dancers, Nigerian villagers, Mayan sheep herders. All what they are today because of what Columbus took between the Old World and the New, the Columbian Exchange. At a rodeo in North Dakota, only the people are Native Americans.
Pleasure for me to introduce the famous colored hunter out of chute number 6 from Tortured Pine, South Dakota, representing the Sioux Nation this afternoon. Outside, 8-second ride, hurry, Hunter. Hey,
the competitors at this most American of events are all Indians.
On Kickapoo, the horse.
But the animals are all immigrants.
About 35 miles an hour, it's okay.
The horses are descendants of animals brought here from Europe over the past 500 years. So too are the cattle. Horses and cattle, unknown in the Americas until Christopher Columbus first brought them, reshaped the destinies of the people who lived here when Columbus arrived, and those who followed. Only a few people went back and forth between the Old World and the New with Columbus. But the plants and animals he exchanged between the hemispheres moved millions. Including the ancestors of these young Venezuelan sailors, whose parentage includes Europeans and Africans as well as Americans. Their ship, the Navy training vessel Simón Bolívar, is retracing the final leg of Columbus's third voyage, when for the first time he saw mainland America.
When Columbus did his trip and saw these marvelous lands, he was very, very surprised. I believe to repeat what he did 500 years ago is very important to us, and I'm proud to do it.
When Columbus sailed these waters in 1498, he still believed the islands he'd found on his 2 previous voyages were off the coast of Asia. This trip, his goal was mainland Asia itself, and the gold it promised.
On his third voyage, Columbus followed the trades much further south. In fact, he went as far south as the latitude of Guinea in Africa. He felt certain that the closer he got to the equator, the better chance he had of finding lots of gold. After all, the Portuguese had found plenty of gold in Guinea. Also, his view of the world was beginning to come together, and he knew where he was.
He knew where he was, despite being in totally unfamiliar waters. After taking his usual route to the Cape Verde Islands, he'd struck southwest, seeking the parallel of Guinea, the latitude gold could be found. After 3 weeks sailing, his instincts told him he'd reached the Indies, and he turned north. On July 31st, 1498, 3 hills appeared on the horizon. The admiral named the island that slowly emerged from the sea for the Holy Trinity, Trinidad. The little fleet of 3 ships sailed along the south coast of the island, anchoring briefly to let the men go ashore. The fleet then anchored again near a rock he called El Gallo, the cock, because it looked like a cockscomb. Suddenly, a tidal wave, like a hill as high as the ship, according to Columbus, threw the ships into the sky and then down until they could see the sea floor. He quickly departed what he called the Serpent's Mouth and headed north, attracted by the sight of distant mountains. Trinidad lay to the east.
084, checar, Trinidad.
The mountains to the west appeared to be yet another island. Columbus decided to drop sail and go ashore. But there was something strange here. The water was oddly fresh and shallow. To find a way around the island, Columbus sent one of his smaller ships ahead.
Right now, we are following the route of that caravel, which in effect discovered the mouths of the Orinoco, and therefore showed to Columbus and to the world that this was not a little island, it was a great continent with a big river.
Only a continent could produce such mighty rivers. Columbus had landed not on an island, but on the tip of South America. He was never to know the colossal size of the continent he'd found. Instead, he imagined the new continent to be something even greater still. There appeared to be 4 rivers draining this new land. And wasn't the Garden of Eden drained by 4 rivers? What's more, it seemed to Columbus that here both land and sea tilted upwards into the sky, as if the earth bulged towards heaven. To the mystical, medieval part of Columbus's mind, there could be only one explanation.
This, Columbus said, was the end of the East, the earthly paradise. And in a sense, he was right. The continent he had discovered was still innocent of the world Columbus represented. But now that the two had met, they would never be the same again.
Almost 20 years after Columbus first set foot on the American mainland, a little band of men and horses came ashore on this beach on the Caribbean coast of Mexico. There were just 16 horses in Hernan Cortez's tiny army, descendants, many of them, of horses first brought to the Caribbean by Columbus himself. Until they splashed ashore through the surf, no horses had set foot on this land for 10,000 years. Horses had evolved in America, but since becoming extinct at the end of the Ice Age, only their fossilized bones remained. When horses returned to America with the Spanish, they found their own version of the Garden of Eden Columbus had only imagined. Horses that escaped their human masters seeded the vast American grasslands with a population that exploded. These horses were to totally transform the lives of the people who lived on the plains and pampas of North and South America. These dancers are from Indian tribes of the North American plains. For thousands of years, They lived by exploiting the one large grazing animal that survived in post-Ice Age America, the buffalo. Tens of millions of buffalo grazed here, hunted for meat, hide, horns, fur, and bones by bands of Indians on foot. The hunt was difficult. Tribal groups were scattered and small. Then one day, a new creature arrived on the plains. This is Philip Beaumont, a Crow Indian. Today, he has the honor of waking up his people on the morning of their annual fair.
In the late 20th century, we still maintain that identity among the 300 tribes across the nation. And you could see by the regalias, by everything that we wear, is still Crow.
Today, the horse is at the very center of Crow culture. But until it first appeared on the plains in the early 18th century, the people here had seen nothing like it before.
It was so new, we didn't even have a word for the horse. They called it big dog or big elk. And every tribe has their own story about how it originated. Some are mythical, but many are tell of the way when they first saw the horse on the prairie. It was astounding. When one group got the horse, they quickly passed to the other because it was so dramatic and beautiful, as you can see.
The arrival of the horse gave the Plains Indians, for the first time in their history, total mastery over their environment. It was a mastery that was to last only a handful of generations, yet in that time flowered the great horse culture that will forever be how history remembers the Indians of the Plains. The buffalo hunt was where the horse had its greatest impact. No longer need large hunting parties spend days in patient stalking. The horse brought the Indians time.
They didn't have to spend all their hours after food. So then they begin to develop their art in greater detail, their philosophy, their religion, and things such as this. So it was a tremendous impact. Oh my goodness, look at that lance case. That's very rare on that one over there. See that little girl? That baby carrier in that lance case? Woo-hoo. Wish I had that in my museum. But it's fun to see him going around, and in spite of our moonshots and all of these other technical things, we still keep our feet on the ground with the horse. And maybe that's its purpose now.
But the Spanish didn't bring only the horse to America. They also brought cattle and a great ranching tradition, stylized in the bullfight. Rafael Peralta is one of Spain's premier rejoneadores, bullfighters who work from horses.
Were it possible for one to have gone with Columbus, I would have, especially if horses were going. On a horse, a man feels much bigger. Being mounted, you see things amplified, as if through a prism.
Cattle ranching began in the Caribbean islands with Columbus and spread to the mainland as soon as it was colonized. Like horses, cattle found the grasslands of the New World a paradise. And the cow, or at least the leather on its back, became the economic foundation of regions like the Pampas of Argentina.
Argentina con así, campo.
Argentina is fields, horses, and cows. Argentina without horses? No, it's unimaginable.
Argentina is a nation that was built by men riding horses ranching cattle, gauchos. And in the streets of Buenos Aires on the day of the annual agricultural fair, the gaucho tradition runs deep.